Welcome everybody to another live stream edition of A Week in Geekdom. Geo here, and today we're continuing our Fable Fridays, the monthly series where I basically go over all the Vertigo Fables Deluxe Edition hardcovers. So there should be 15 of these bad boys. And right now we're bringing you our second installment, book 2 right here of Fables, Deluxe Edition, book 2, oversized hardcover. And this fine collection brings us issues 11 through 18, as well as an illustrated short story, and for extras, a special sketchbook. Now, typically my reviews are spoiler free. However, I might go into mild spoilers simply because this is a volume 2. So if you haven't caught up to the series, go ahead and read the first 10 issues that make up the first hardcover edition. Well, I made a video on that. You can watch that and then jump back into this video and we'll discuss the series a little bit. So thank you everybody for watching, for tuning in. As always, hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell icon so you know when new videos pop up. It'll definitely help out a lot. So what exactly is happening here in Fables? I have a notepad here with the issues because for the life of me, I've been so busy that I tend to forget the names and stuff. So I have all the 18 issues here on my tablet to discuss with you guys. And we begin this book after a riveting Animal Farm story, the farm story, if you will, in the first hardcover, which is a lot of people's favorite introduction to this modern classic series, if you will. So with the second oversized hardcover, we begin with issue 11 titled Bag of Bones, and it's set during the Civil War, starring Jack as he is trying to find a way to cheat death. This story, the first time I read it, I didn't know where it was going, because one of the things that I'm going to complain later on in this review is the artistic changes, which is fine. I don't mind the art, but it's the transition between arcs that kind of just irked me, because I have a favorite. I love Medina's artwork, and to have this drastic change from story arc to story arc, it sort of annoyed me at first, but it grew on me pretty fast. So minor complaint. The story is pretty funny. You find Jack, he's opportunistic and he's finding himself in the Civil War fighting for the South, and as a result, he is on the losing side. So he goes and ventures into the swamp, into the bayou, if you will, and finds himself on a very peculiar match of, I believe it was just a regular card game or poker or whatever, with a blind man who turns out to be the devil himself. And what follows from that is pretty bizarre. I kept forgetting that this is a mature rated comic, and for some reason when I see sexual content and nudity in this book, I'm like, oh, wait, what am I reading? Because I'm so used to it, even though I know it's Vertigo, I do know that the parent company is DC Comics, so it's a little bit like, whoa, what's happening? But the way that story resolves itself was pretty humorous, and just goes to show you how lucky this character is that he's able to get away with certain things. He's not the best character ever, and he does some pretty douchey things, but the story has a unique charm, and it's all led by him as a character, which I thought was pretty cool. After that, we get a two-parter story, issues 12 and 13, called A Two-Part Caper, and this is my second favorite part of this book. You have a Mundy, a human, investigating the Fables, and he believes he's stepped on this conspiracy that the Fables are actual vampires. So he's going to do everything possible to, one, let our protagonist Bigby Wolf know what's happening and expose them if they don't comply or whatever. But it's pretty funny that he thinks they're vampires, where it could have been something completely different. But he has this long conspiracy, and he's put two and two together, and is now um convinced that all these characters that he's seeing throughout, he doesn't know it's Fabletown, but throughout Fabletown, as creatures of the night. And what follows is Bigby assembling a team to deal with the matter. In this case, silencing him, and the way they go about it is freaking brutal. I had forgotten some of the details and the stuff that they do in order to make sure the reporter doesn't tell anybody and doesn't say anything is pretty brutal. Again, I don't want to spoil everything just in case you're watching this and you want to find out for yourself, but the extortion and the things that they come up with are pretty rough, man, and pretty genius too. uh, as soon as those issues are over, and by the way, we're just going over the issues if you're tuning in now, because I'm starting to see some people tuning into the chat. Issues 14 to 17, they cover the storyline Storybook Love, which is basically Bluebeard hatching a scheme to get rid of two of our main leads, Bigby and Snow White. And as a result, he pairs up with a Goldilocks, which we find out she did survive her scuffle from the farm. Obviously, in that book, we know that she escaped, but now we know where she's been. And they're hatching this scheme to get rid of them once and for all. Because, and it goes back to the previous story of the vampire journalist, because there's this really great scene where you have a confrontation between Bigby and Bluebeard, and they're questioning their own methods. Bluebeard is obviously more rash and direct, and obviously once they put their plan into motion, it doesn't really work. So Bluebeard suggests, we got to take him out and be done with it. Bigby does not agree with that at all. And what we get as a result is this really interesting conflict of ideologies, and Bluebeard accusing Bigby, maybe you're all bark and no bite. Something happened to you on that transition from their original homeland and now here in Fabletown, and how watered down he is. And this is easily, I'm going to pull up the page here from my book. This is easily my favorite panel or drawing from the second volume. Let's see, there it is right here. This interaction, this is mirrored, by the way, so I'm having difficulty pointing. This interaction between the two characters is fantastic, and the artwork just stellar. Remember what I'm going to say about this thing, because this panel defined really what I was getting myself into. Yes, volume 1 was awesome, but it wasn't until I got to this page where I really fell in love with the title when I first read it. And now on a reread, I still feel the same. This is one of my favorite drawings from this early on from the series, and just keep that in mind as I continue my explanation of this book. So as a result of that, it keeps bubbling up, and now in the two caper story, Bluebeard has had enough, and he's going to make the scheme happen to get rid of these two characters. One of the things they're not expecting is that they have spies, monitoring and trying to find Goldilocks and all this stuff. So eventually, it turns out it's one of the little soldiers that works for Prince Charming, and they're riding the I believe his name was Rex the mouse. One of them is riding Rex the mouse, yeah. a really awesome, intelligent mouse. And he finds out that the two characters are in leagues with each other and they're sleeping together. So as he's reporting back, Rex is caught and killed by Bluebeard's ogre servant. So now uh, they have no way of informing the main leads of what's happening. So they make their scheme, which involves tricking Bigby and Snow White to vacation. This is by an enchantment, and they basically comply because they take a whiff out of some magical smoke potion or something, and they spend I think it was a whole weekend or something in freaking Seattle, all the way from New York to Seattle. And over there is where we get major character development on the part of Bigby Wolf, as he is unwillingly uh, basically confessing his feelings, I guess, for Snow White. And I love that scene. And whenever we get to see Bigby transform is one of my favorites, one of my favorite parts of the book. It just looks really cool. I love the design, and it's so badass. I love wolves and werewolf stories, so naturally the big bad wolf would appeal to me. So I really like that. We do find out later in the story that Goldilocks is there with them because they're basically in this trance. They don't really know what they're doing. They do wake up and find out what's happening and are leaving the forest. They're on this epic chase through the woods as we find out why Bigby, or part of the motivation why he likes Snow White, which might be a little bit creepy. And the reactions from Snow White were priceless. I love the attention to detail on her face throughout the whole conversation. But when that happens, they find out that Goldilocks is gunning for them. And man, Bigby's a badass. And I love that his father's the North Wind, if I remember correctly. So when he huffs and puffs, you're going to feel it. It's pretty badass. That was one of my favorite scenes from this book. And they do take care of Goldilocks. So after that, we go into the Barleycorn Brides. But before I do, there's two major events that happen that I am going to talk about. Is that Prince Charming is the he was Fabletown, and as a result, he has to protect Bigby and Snow White and everything. And he's weird as they're losing. So throughout the story arc, he challenges him to a duel, a fencing duel, and eventually a duel to the death. And he is able to strike down Bluebeard and set his plan into motion. Spoilers. So at the end of the storyline, we've gotten rid of two big problems, Bluebeard and Goldilocks. So as we move on to the next one, which I called earlier the Barleycorn Brides, issue 18, uh, is where I have most of my issues with this book, because let me look for the art here. To go from the fantastic art that I showed you guys earlier, which I mentioned is my favorite panel from this book. It just oozes with personality. There's a lot of grit to it. You see that right there, how awesome the shadowing and the expressions on these guys' faces, how they look. So all of a sudden, go to this is jarring, to say the least. The story I loved, and the art itself is not bad. I like the art, but it's that sharp turn, that sharp contrast that you don't see coming. That I just, I was a little bit bothered or annoyed by it, to be honest with you guys. But the story itself is wonderful. You basically have the little people, the small people, I should say, to correct myself, and they're trying to steal the barleycorn, which relates to the small women, and that's how they plant them and they they grow into like full female women, and we get the story of how they escaped from their homeland and into Fabletown, but all the small people that escape are men. So there's no females. Eventually, hijinks ensue, and we do get the. I'm not gonna go over the whole storyline, but they do get the Barleycorn brides, and in the present time, it's sort of a tradition for the young males to try and sneak into the administrative offices and steal the corn thing, the whatever you call it, so they can do. They're honoring the tradition that was set in the past when they recovered the females, if you will. So the small town could prosper later on in the real world with the Mundys. So that story's fine. You have Big B telling Flycatcher the storyline. Flycatcher, not the brightest, but certainly a very interesting character. During the whole journalist heist thing, when they find that the journalist has all the info, they have to sneak into his apartment, and they use basically Sleeping Beauty's ability to make everything fall asleep so they can sneak in and get all the data. Turns out he had uploaded it to the internet or sent it to somebody, I don't know. So that was why the confrontation started, which I didn't mention earlier. So the character Flycatcher was present in there, and I love the scene where they're trying to wake up Sleeping Beauty later on, and Prince Charming, now being divorced, basically says, she can only wake by a true love, by somebody that truly loves her. He doesn't really love her anymore, and we find out that Flycatcher really does love her, and it's one-sided, obviously, but he kisses her and wakes her up, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But after that, we get probably my favorite part of the book, my favorite story. Which is pretty crucial to the story later on, the Last Castle storyline or story arc, which basically recounts the final days of the Fables as they escape their homeland in what could be best described as a comic book adaptation of the Battle of Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings, and that is one of my favorite battles in fiction ever. So I was right at home and loved every page of it, having this epic tale of these characters making a last stand so the last boat could leave to the human world. I thought that was just fantastic, epic, and of course we get introduced to Red Riding Hood. She's going to come into play later on. Lots of things are being set in motion, and we finally get to see the forces of the adversaries. It's really awesome, and you're able to take all of these characters and expand on your world building aspect. I think Bill Willingham did a fantastic job, in my honest opinion, and the story just keeps getting better and better. The story's great, the characters are really interesting, and there is one epic development which I've saved for last on purpose because I know that sometimes people click on the video and they're not necessarily caring about spoilers, but if you don't want this big epic spoiler revealed, if you've not read Fables, turn away now. At the end of the storybook love storyline, which, by the way, before I forget, I'm all over the place, but you'll have to forgive me on that. Not terribly used to going live on YouTube on my channel. This artwork is great, but again, judging from the first art, where it was so detailed, like over here, gets a little bit weird, especially with this panel. Let's see if I can find. Yeah. Poor Bigby right there, just looking all kinds of weird. I wasn't too big into the art here as well, but the story takes a very interesting turn when we find out that while the two of them, Snow and Bigby, were in their little vacation, uh, Snow is apparently going to have a baby. So we leave on that epic cliffhanger to go into the past with the last castle storyline. So that was a major bombshell for this book, which I can't wait to reread Volume 3, which is the. I did read Volume 4, but I barely remember. So I'm really excited to reread Volume 3 and continue the journey from there to see what happens in the storyline. So if you've already read the whole series and you want to comment down below, try not to spoil anything for anybody watching that's new, myself included. So yeah, that in a nutshell is Fables Book 2. The writing for me got a lot better from Volume 1, and it was nice to see several threads being consistent, especially with the farm and Snow's sister and the ramifications from that. Of course, following the story of Goldilocks and Bluebeard and all their conflicts are really well done and well paced. I love that you're able to take small breaks to do like the Bag of Bones storyline with Jack in the Civil War era. I like that. It takes a break from the drama and the main storyline, and you're able to expand on characters and either make you hate them or love them and just expand on the world building per se. The art, however, I love Lan Medita's art. He's one of my favorite artists. Unfortunately, the book isn't consistent because we have a ton of creators here. Here's the dust jacket. You got Brian Talbot, Linda Medley, Steve Laiola, P. Craig Russell, Craig Hamilton, Lan Medina, Mark Buckingham, and of course Bill Willingham writing. It's all over the place with the art, and the transitions is part of why I get so aggravated with comics, because I like a single artist through the storyline. And I get it. You know, Fables was what, like 150? Was it 150? Yeah, 150 issues. So I get it. Not everybody's going to stick around for that long. It's a long commitment, right? But I like consistency. And again, to highlight the obvious, you know, you go from this, which is a bloody massacre in Bag of Bones, to super detailed artwork. To super detailed artwork like this, to more atmospheric art. Where was the panel? More atmospheric art and those wonderful covers. To, of course, jumping on to this. Jumping on to that. Not my favorite thing. The coloring is fantastic and it fits the bill for the story that you're reading. And this is my second favorite page from this book. I'd love this drawing of Bigby, one of my favorites. So yeah, that in a nutshell is my overview, review, discussion on Fables. If you've read it, let me know in the comments section down below. Those covers continue to amaze me. I love these. They look so cool to me. And by the way, I don't know if you guys can help me out before we wrap this thing up. I will get to the chat in a little bit. In the bonus section, here's a short story that I mentioned at the start of the video, but there is a sketchbook. And in the sketchbook, we get some really cool detailed art from the book, obviously the pencils. And here we go. It says, let's see if I can show you guys this right here. It says, conceptual designs for an unproduced storybook love statue of Bigby and Snow White by Mark Buckingham. Did it stay as a concept, because that would have been a fantastic statue to own, and I would track it down if it existed, because that is awesome. I love that so much. It sucks that there's not a lot of merch or collectibles for this series, just from one or two different statues. I know there's one with the farm storyline, but I would have really loved this as a statue. So that's a shame. I wish we could get it. Maybe if we raise enough awareness and then there's a fervor, I guess, for Fables, we'll get that. I don't know. Just talking random nonsense. So yeah, that's what I thought about Fables. I don't really do ratings. If anybody's wondering, if you're new to the channel, I just tell you what I think of the book, if I like it or dislike it. Typically, I just like everything. So that said, let's see if we got some people on board, because I'm always down to some Q&A. Larry, good evening. Josh, just finished volume 2, so deluxe number 4 is hard to find, which is discouraging. Man, that really sucks. I mean, I've had terrible luck with books, so I know how you're feeling. There's a lot of books I want to own that are out of print, and I'm not going to bother with that. I don't pay above cover for books unless it's something like extremely rare and I happen to have the extra funds for it and it doesn't hurt the wallet. Sure, I'll go for it. But it really sucks, because I think it's a Vertigo series that, while yes, it's fantastic and wonderful, doesn't get hyped as, say, your Swamp Things or your Hellblazers or Preacher and what was the other one? Sandman. Fables has always, to me at least, has always been sort of the B-lister right there underneath the heavyweights. And I think it deserves a spot, especially because it ended and you have the full thing collected. So I think it deserves a spot in the A-list materials from Vertigo, or I guess I should say now DC Black Label. So maybe we will see. I mean, we are getting the compendiums, so that is a nice way to get them. But for the people collecting the oversized hardcovers, I feel you, man. I was lucky enough to get these books as they were coming out. So as soon as I got the first one, fell in love with it and started collecting each one as soon as possible. But yeah, that sucks. Hopefully you're able to find it, Josh. I'm praying that you're able to find it, because it's a really cool series. Hey, Jesse, Leslie, thank you. You guys are awesome. I haven't read this. I'm waiting for the Fabled Omnibus or whatever oversized format DC sells on. I didn't like the idea that they were going to do an absolute, because Fables is 150 issues. You're going to have a ton of $100 absolutes that not everybody's going to be able to afford. I think a compendium is the right way to go. I'm not going to throw shade. I'm not like my fellow Omni Bros that are so strict on it being a collected hardcover edition. A paperback is just fine. I happen to get this, but again, if these are no longer available and the only option to read it is the smaller trades or the compendium, get the compendium, man. Enjoy the storyline. Read that book. And if you want to try and hunt the hardcovers later on, be my guest. But yeah, the compendium edition, I think, will have 20-something issues, or I think it's just the first 2 hardcovers combined into one fat trade, which is not bad. Just read the first 2 volumes of To Your Eternity. There's some beautiful rendered wolves in both volumes. Dude, yes. I have to volume 3. I really want to collect that. So I need to add it to my budget and the list of books and stuff. I really need to get that. But there's a ton of volumes. I think volume 12 is the last one solicited. I think it's coming out either in August or September. I'm not too sure. But To Your Eternity is great. If you guys want to check out my review for it, I made a video on the first volume like 2 years ago. You can check it out on this channel. So, speaking of wolves and things among us, see what I did there? Last stream a month ago, I talked about my gaming journey and that I wanted to pick, there it is. that I wanted to grab the Wolf Among Us game, and I did. Here is Wolf Among Us Telltale Games for Xbox One. Yeah, there's the game right there. I've already played this. I made the I talked about it on my previous. Did I talk about it in the Hall or in the Fables video? I think it was Fables video. I played the game when it came out on PlayStation 3, and I bought it, the DLC episodes as they were coming out. But since that got wrecked and I no longer have access to that hard drive because it was water damaged, it was a mess. I lost all that info. So with Telltale going under, I know these aren't rare. They're not going to go out of print and become collectibles. But I really wanted to own this game because I love the comic. So finally got it. Here's the Wolf Among Us for Xbox One, and I'm thinking either sometime in the year I start streaming this somehow. I'm not too sure how I'm going to do that, but I'm thinking maybe I'll do a video review on it while I play the game. I don't know how that's going to work because I have no equipment whatsoever. I'm currently building a PC. I have the tower with me here, and I just basically need to add most of the components. At least I got the frame, but I still need to add a proper RAM and storage devices and all that stuff. So I am planning to build nothing too fancy, but a good PC that will let me at least capture footage whenever I get the capture card. And hopefully, I do plan on making video game related content. Not on this channel. I have a second one. It's on my YouTube page. You can find it there. I haven't posted a video there yet, but soon I'll start posting. So yeah, I'll make a review of this because this is the prequel. So once I'm done with Fables, I'll get to this. But those of you might be wondering, there's 15 books of Fables, 15 months. We're going to have to wait a year for you, Gio, to review this? Not necessarily. I'm kind of thinking of speeding these videos up and maybe doing later on, not right now, but during the fall, like 2 books or 2 Fable Fridays per month, so I can hurry up and do this because I'm really itching to play this and stream it. And it's an old game. This came out 2014, so you already you've seen reviews of this. Hell, I think I even have a video review on this game on this channel, but I didn't make it per se. I had some old friends review it for me, but that's old stuff. Don't bother. Just watch me review this instead. So I got the game, planning on making that, and next month we're going to cover Fables Deluxe Edition Book 3. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And the way this book ends just makes me want to jump in and read it, but I'm going to have to wait because there's a ton of videos that I have in my noggin here that I'm working on. So look forward to those instead. Next week, you should be able to watch some anime reviews that I'm working on. Those are actually scripted, so it takes me a longer time. And I do have some 7 Seas books that came in because 7 Seas sponsors this channel on occasions. So they sent me 2 new a manga and a light novel to review. Manga, I can get to that pretty quickly, so you'll see that real soon. The light novel is going to take me some time because it's a pretty lengthy book, but I will be talking about it eventually. So hopefully you guys stick around for that. Let's see. Building a PC, and I'm the guy banging on the microwave demanding to know how to change the channel on that thing. The main reason I want to build the PC is because I have a really fancy microphone here that unfortunately, for some stupid reason, won't work with my laptop and with my MacBook Pro, because this MacBook is USB Type-C. So right now, the camera that I'm using is going through a USB-C to USB adapter, which is makes it laggy somewhat, I guess, with my lips talking. But I want to fix that. So I want to use the microphone. I want to hook it up to the PC that I'm building and get a monitor here and actually record some proper videos like God intended, with full voiceover and just a really nice editing job on them. And I kind of want to do video game stuff. Like I mentioned, I have a second channel. It's called Geo's Arcade. There's no videos up yet, and it's just strictly me having fun talking about video games on there. I have some content recorded already, but I haven't edited said video, so it's not going to be ready anytime soon. Hopefully 2 weeks from now. I don't know. We'll see. So I do want to build the PC for editing and the gaming. And don't tell anybody, but I might have some emulation stuff in there that I want to try out and play some older games and stuff on the PC with the large monitor and all that stuff. So we'll see. But that's what I'm trying to do. Every 7 Seas title you recommended has hooked me, so another one would be most welcome. You know, I'm going to tell you right now. Let me get the name of it because I forgot what it's called. I got it yesterday, so I haven't even started reading it. It's we're going to be reviewing Goodbye, My Rose Garden, Volume 1, story and art from Dr. Pepperco? Pepperco. It's a Yuri drama. It sounds pretty interesting. I love the artwork, so I can't wait to talk about that. And the light novel that was sent to me is At Night, I Become a Monster. That one I've been really excited about. I was so happy when I saw that email. Hey, you want to review this? I'm like, yes, of course I do. It says, for At Night, I Become a Monster. Every night, Adachi transforms into a nightmarish creature, and every morning he reverts to human form. When he encounters his ostracized classmate, Yano Satsuki, in his monstrous state, the two develop a peculiar bond. But daylight brings its own form of terrors, which is worse. Which is worse, the monster at night or the cruel realities of the classroom by day. A psychological high school fantasy novel from Yoru Sumi, best-selling author of I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. The light novel is a prose novel, but it has certain illustrations inside. That's it. It's straight up just a regular old text-heavy novel with in between chapters you'll get like illustrations from the writer that are similar to a manga. They're very popular. They're the equivalent of us with the young adult novel craze that's swept the nation 10 years ago. So that's sort of the equivalent of that over in Japan. A lot of people like those light novels. I've never read a light novel, I'll be honest with you. I've always wanted to. I want to read the Overlord and the Rascal Bunny Senpai. Those are two light novels that I really want to read, but they've made anime out of them, so I watched those instead. So, yeah. But look forward to that, guys. At Night, I Become a Monster, and the other one is Goodbye, My Rose Garden. So those should be up soon-ish on the channel. That's it for me, guys. This was a short video. Again, it was mostly me reviewing Fables. If you've read Fables, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Deluxe Edition Book 2, covering issues 11 through 18, what you thought of that. I'd be very interested in finding out. For everybody in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in. I know it was a short stream, but I'll be back next month with the third one. So thank you all. I wish you all nothing but the best. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting A Week in Geekdom here on YouTube. Of course, remember to like this video, comment, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you know when new videos pop up. As always, you can follow me on social media as well, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. I've got to go. I will catch all of you on our next live stream next month. But next week, you're going to get more videos. So you'll still see me around, if not on Omnibros Live.